Police Precinct, an SGC production starring Veronica Blake as Detective Lieutenant Denise Sears, also starring Jack Stone as Staff Sergeant Pablo Costello, special guest star Rick Donovan as the Killer, tonight's episode, Catch Me If You Can.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Solo Gamers Club. This is Keith, and tonight I'd like to invite you to join me as we journey back to the mid-1970s and early 1980s, to a time of outstanding television police dramas like Kojak, Hawaii Five-0, Rockford Files, McCloud, and Policewoman, as we play Police Precinct 2nd Edition.
The body of the wealthy industrialist, Preston Booth, has been discovered in the parking lot of the Tollity Apartments. As the victim is a personal friend of the state governor, this crime is sure to gain intense scrutiny from the residents and the press. We can lose the game in one of two ways. 1. The murderer escapes the city without being arrested. 2. The city crime track moves to the fail space. We win the game by 1. Assemble all the evidence indicated on the murder board and arrest the murderer. 2. The murder suspect has not yet appeared on the board, but all the evidence has been assembled.
In this playthrough, I'll be using only the base game components. Setup begins by shuffling and placing the Examine the Body deck at the morgue. It consists of 10 cards. Then we shuffle and place the Crime Scene Evidence deck consisting of 14 cards at the murder site in the parking lot. Next we shuffle the Murder Weapon deck consisting of 8 cards. We're going to roll a d6 and place the deck in a warehouse located in the block matching the die roll. Result is a 6, so we'll be placing the Murder Weapon deck in block 6 in the Acme warehouse. We'll do the same for the Interview Witness deck, which consists of 10 cards. We're going to roll a d6 and place the deck in the apartment located within the block matching the die roll. Rolls a 5, so we'll be placing the Interview Witness deck at the Pearson Apartments. Then we determine the number of players, and we're going to consult the setup chart. We're going to deal the indicated number of police cards to each player face up. And then we're going to set aside a number of punk tokens indicated and place the remainder back in the box. Then we place the calendar marker on the indicated space. We're going to be setting up for a 2-player solo game, so each investigator will be drawing 2 police cards. We'll have a total of 14 punks in the game, and the calendar marker will be placed on turn 1. Our first player has drawn the police cards Air Support and redirect traffic. Police cards are very valuable to us in the game. They have two functions. If during your own turn, you can play the card for its effect listed at the bottom. Or you can lend assistance to another officer outside of your turn by using the icons listed in the upper right-hand corner. Those icons will either give you extra draws during an investigation or an extra die in resolving arrests or emergencies. Player 2 has drawn 2 stakeout cards. As we're playing a 2-player game, we're going to set our calendar marker on turn 1. Next, we're going to draw 2 random emergency cards from the event deck, and we will ignore any memo or incident report cards. We place those emergency cards on the board according to the information listed on the card. We have a traffic accident at the intersection of 2nd and Vassal. The card is a difficulty of 4 emergency to solve, and we'll be adding 2 extra punks to the display. Our second emergency is at Snyder's Liquor. It's a thief. It has unknown circumstances. It has a difficulty of 4. Traffic accident appears at the intersection of 2nd and Vassal. Card also indicates we need to randomly deploy 2 punks to the bad hoods indicated by the dice roll. So we'll be placing punks in the bad hoods of blocks 1 and 2. So a punk is placed in bad hood 1 and another in bad hood 2. If a bad hood ever has 4 or more punks in it, they will form a gang, and that is going to adversely affect our ability to perform our investigations. Our second emergency is placed at Snyder's Liquors. This has an unknown circumstance, so we're going to randomly draw an unknown circumstances token and place that on the card. When we attempt to solve this emergency, we're going to commit our assets to the problem, and then that token will be flipped over, and that will change the dynamics of that emergency in some manner. Next, we're going to roll 6 dice, and we're going to place street punks in the bad hoods indicated by the dice roll. So we'll be placing punks, 1 of them in block 1, 2 in block 2, 1 in block 4, and 2 in block 5. If the roll would ever place 4 or more punks into a bad hood, we would re-roll those dice. The game cannot start with any gangs being formed. So we place another punk in bad hood 1. 2 more are placed in bad hood 2, moving the strength of that bad hood up to 3 punks. Another is placed in bad hood 4. And finally, 2 punks are placed in bad hood 5. Now you'll notice that I'm using some plastic stands for the punks. Those didn't come with the game. I got those from many years of purchasing Fantasy Flight games, and I have a large collection of them. Those work very well for this game to vertically stand up those tokens. Makes them easier for me to see while I'm playing, and hopefully easier for the viewers. I've randomly drawn our officers, and our first player is going to be Lieutenant Denise Sears. She has a value of 1 in investigation, 1 in arrests, and 2 in handling emergencies. She has the coordinator ability. On her turn, she can move one other player's car or the support vehicle one street space. She also has city knowledge. When you draw an event card that requires the placing of random street punks, we can re-roll one die result. Then we have Staff Sergeant Pablo Costello. He has a rating of 1 in investigation, 2 in arrests, and 1 in handling emergencies. He has the special ability, Intuition. Before we draw an event card, he can look at the top card and then decide whether to place it back on top or on the bottom of the deck. He's also thorough. When drawing investigation cards as an action, he can choose to not reshuffle the stack. Then we place 4 patrol officers at police headquarters. And we can deploy them to the board and they will assist us in making arrests. Then the officers' squads are deployed outside of the police headquarters. Detective Sears' squad and Staff Sergeant Costello's unit, along with a support vehicle. When we're playing in a solitaire game, we have a support vehicle that either player can move during their turn. It will assist us in performing investigations, arrests, and handling emergencies. First one is the thematic witness deck. Once the first witness is located from the interview witness deck, we're going to roll a die and place the deck in an apartment indicated by the roll, just as we did during the setup. The roll may result in the existing location. This simulates the possibility that a second witness may live in a different part of town. If both witnesses are pulled during the same draw, ignore this rule. Next, we have the hospital variant. If an officer is sent to the hospital following a failed arrest attempt or as a condition of a failed emergency, we'll move their vehicle to the street space in front of the hospital and roll a d6. On a result of 1 to 4, it'll be a minor injury and he will have to discard 2 police cards if possible. On a roll of 5, it'll be a moderate injury. In addition to the discarding the 2 police cards, he will have to surrender an upgrade if possible. Finally, if a 6 is rolled, that is a serious injury. He'll have to discard 2 police cards, an upgrade, and he will lose his turn. His next turn. We'll place a blocked token on the vehicle. If we sustain a moderate or serious injury, we are unable to assist the other players, and we may not play or gain police cards until we are released for active duty. If we have sustained a serious injury, we're going to remove the block token from the vehicle to start at the next turn, and then we will resume our normal turn, beginning with the next turn after that. Finally, we have the Murderer MO variant. The rules as written, the murderer enters the map on turn 16 and is placed on block 6. In this variant, the murderer's modus operandi will be determined with a d6 roll, according to the Murderer MO table. At the start of turn 16, we're going to roll a d6 and consult the chart, using the initial starting location columns to place the murderer on the board. During turns 17 through 21, we're going to move the murderer according to the characteristics listed for that initial MO. If the murderer's MO causes him to move off the board, the players will lose the game. The game is now set and we're ready to play. We'll begin with our first player, Lieutenant Denise Sears. Now before we begin, let's understand this crime track. This is the most likely way that we would lose the game, and that's if the crime marker would move to the cops fail condition. The track moves when the following things occur. We advance it 1 step if street punks cannot be placed when required. So if we've got all 14 street punks out on the board and another one or more is destined to be put on the board and we can't do that, it moves the track up 1. Also, another way is a street gang is formed but none are available. If all 4 street gangs are out on the board and we need to form another gang, it goes up another point for that. The most common way though is with this urgent marker. What will happen with that is when we, as an example, say we have a yellow and blue emergency out on the board and another yellow emergency comes on. Well, what happens is we place the urgent marker on the existing yellow emergency. And if that emergency is not solved before the time another emergency would become urgent, that emergency is failed, and then the track goes up 1 point. So that's what we have to prepare ourselves for. We're ready to begin with our first player, and that'll be Lieutenant Denise Sears. Before we begin, let's take a look at what the main priorities are in the game. First off, of course, we'd like to just do investigations and get all of the cards that we need on our murder board to win the game, but we can't let the local crime get out of hand. And right now we've got one situation in Bad Hood number 2. There's 3 punks there. If another one comes on board, we would have a gang there, and those are harder to get rid of, and they cause problems for us in our investigations. Now, if we look at our characters, Staff Sergeant Costello has a rating of 2 when doing arrests, so it would probably be best for him to handle that. Lieutenant Sears is good at handling emergencies. So probably, I think the best thing we can do would be to send Lieutenant Sears over to Vassal Avenue here, and she can handle this traffic accident. Traffic accidents block us from being able to move through that intersection until we can clear that. So I think that would probably be a good thing to do. So I think what we'll do for her move, she'll start out in a marked squad. An unmarked squad has a movement of 2, but you get +1 when you're doing investigations. A marked squad allows you a movement of 3. So we'll leave her with a marked squad, and she's going to move over to Vassal Avenue. She's also going to move the support vehicle, and that will help her. And the next step now is her actions, and she's going to do a emergency. She's going to handle an emergency, which is the traffic accident. Now, in order to handle an emergency, we have to have a die roll result of equal or greater to than the difficulty. So we need at least 1-4. So right now, Lieutenant Sears is going to gain 2 dice for her emergency ability. She gets 1 die for the support vehicle. And then she can play any cards that she might want to play. And she does have a card that she's going to play, and that is redirect traffic. When you're playing these police cards on your turn, you have to use the portion of the text written below. The icons are used when other players are trying to assist you and it's not their turn. So she's going to play redirect traffic. Must be in a marked patrol car, which she is. Play this card before rolling dice to reduce the difficulty of the traffic accident by 1. So our difficulty level is now 3, which is a lot easier. Now, she could request assistance from Sergeant Costello, but unfortunately he just has 2 stakeout cards, and the icons on those are for arrests. So she's going to make the roll here, and we'll see what she gets. We're looking for now a 3 in this case because of the redirect traffic. So we're going to roll our dice, and if we can get a 3 or greater, we're successful. And she's done it. She's got 2 6s. So that traffic accident is going to be cleared, and we're going to gain the reward at the bottom. And her rewards are, she can either gain a donut, or she can examine 2 cards from any investigation deck, putting 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom. Now the donut cards or donuts I should say, are very valuable in this game. We can use them for many things. We can use it to upgrade our character, giving them extra capabilities in investigation, arrests, or emergencies. We can use it to move an extra space on the board. We can use it to roll an extra die during an arrest or emergency, or we can use it to draw an extra card on an investigation. So those are very valuable. They cannot be traded to other players unless there's a card action that allows it. So I think we're going to take the donut. So we're going to give Lieutenant Sears a donut, placing that on her card, and then this accident has been solved, and the redirect traffic card that we used is placed in the discard. Her next step now is number 3, and that's draw a police card. So she gets to draw a police card, and she gets fast response. All right, we will add that to her tableau of cards. And finally, step 4 is we have to draw an event card. And the card is revealed to be an incident report. We have a crime wave. Okay, the location will be the least bad hood of the bad hoods. Add 3 street punks to the bad hood with the lowest number of punks. In the case of a tie, the current or active player chooses between the tied bad hoods. Okay, that's not a good card for us. So we got to place 3 street punks in the lowest of the least of the bad hoods. Okay, those would be bad hood 6, bad hood 3. It's got to be between those two. Those are the only ones that don't have any punks in them. So I guess we're going to place it in bad hood 6. So we're going to place 3 street punks in bad hood 6, and that means we've only got 3 now left in the supply. So we're going to have to probably start arresting some of these guys. Okay, that's going to end the turn for Lieutenant Sears. We'll move on to Staff Sergeant Costello, and I think he's going to try to arrest some punks. All right, we're going to begin with his move. He's going to stay in a marked squad, and I think we're going to move him to 2nd Street, and he'll try to deal with these punks in Bad Hood 2. So he's going to move 1 and 2 to that area. He's going to request support from the support vehicle. And then he's going to attempt to arrest some punks. Sergeant Costello has an arrest rating of 2, so he'll get 2 dice, and he gets 1 for the support vehicle, so he'll be rolling 3 dice. Now, the target number is equal to the number of punks in that area. So in this case, we have 3, so we need 3s in order to arrest a punk. For every 3 result or greater that we have on the dice, we can arrest a punk. All right, so he's going to attempt to make an arrest of those punks. So we got 3 dice, and we're looking for 3s or greater. All right, we've got 2 successes. So that will allow Sergeant Costello to arrest 2 punks. Those will go back to the supply now. Now the supply is at 5, so we've got a little bit more room there now in case other punks are going to come out on the board. Now if we failed this, say if we got 3 2s and none of the punks were arrested, then the arresting officer would go to the hospital. He would have undertaken an injury during the arrest attempt, but that didn't happen. So that is going to conclude his actions phase, and we'll move on now to drawing a police card, and we'll see what he gets. And he gets a stakeout card. All right, we'll add that to his collection of cards. And now we move on to drawing an event card. And he draws a green traffic accident. All right, so we would examine the board. If there were other green cards on the board, the existing green card would receive an urgent marker, and that's where the crime track can end up going up. But that isn't the case here. This traffic accident will occur at the intersection of 4th and Luna, and 2 street punks are going to be coming out on the board, which is not good. So our traffic accident appears at the intersection of 4th and Luna, and then we have to make a roll to see where these street punks are going to be coming out. Now if we end up rolling block 6, that's going to form a gang there because there's 3 punks there already, so we'll have to hope it doesn't happen. Here's the roll. And we did. We rolled a 4 and a 6, so we're going to have to deploy punks to block 4 and block 6. So we place a punk in block 4, that's the second one there. And a 4th punk appears in block 6, so that means a gang is formed, and we have to draw a random gang card, a street gang. And that street gang is the East Siders. This gang knows how to recruit by pressure and false promises. When an event card causes one or more street punks to be added to this gang's bad hood, add one extra. Remove this card by arresting all street punks in this bad hood and shuffle it back into the gang deck. Okay. Well, that's probably going to be our next priority. And that's going to bring Sergeant Costello's turn to an end. We'll move on now to our first player, Lieutenant Sears. Now, whenever the first player's turn starts, we have to move the calendar track, so the calendar track now is at 2. And as soon as that gets down to what would be turn 22, we're going to lose the game if we haven't arrested the killer. And it's now Detective Sears' movement, and I think we're going to have to try to deal with this East Siders gang on Stickle Avenue. So she's going to move 1 and 2 into Stickle Avenue. She's going to request support from the support vehicle. Now this street gang, there's 4 of them there right now, and that is going to mandate that we have results of 4 or greater to arrest these guys. So we're going to need some help with this. And I think what we'll do is, right now, Detective Sears is going to get 1 die, and the support vehicle will get 1 as well. I think we're going to request some support from other officers. And I think what we'll do is Sergeant Costello is going to give her one of these stakeout cards, and he's going to use that for the icon, giving her an extra die for that card. That'll give us 3. You can play multiple cards. I think he will, because this is going to be a tough arrest. He'll play a second one, giving her an extra die for that. So we've got 4 dice, and we're basically looking for 4s or greater to arrest these punks. Now, in order to get rid of the gang, we've got to arrest all of them. So we probably won't be able to do that in 1 turn, but we'll try. Okay, here is the roll, and we're looking for 4s or greater. Here's the roll. And we did pretty good. We've got 3 successes. 3 of them. So that is going to arrest 3 street punks, and we can place those back into the supply, and that will move the street punk supply up to 6. Now, when we arrest 3 or more punks in 1 action, we gain a reward. And the reward is another donut, which is great. That's her second donut. So we did pretty good with that. Now we move on to step 3, and she's going to draw a police card, and she gets allocate resources. Okay, that's her 3rd card. We can hold a total of 7, and after we get more than 7, we have to start discarding. All right, the final step is to draw an event card and see what happens. And unfortunately, this is a green card. It's a traffic accident at the intersection of 4th and Calhoun, and 2 more punks are going to be deployed to the board. The bad part now is this is the 2nd green card on the board. That means that the existing green card is going to gain the emergency, or urgent token rather. So let's take care of that. So the existing traffic accident on 4th and Luna now becomes urgent. And we place the new traffic accident at 4th and Calhoun, and it has a strength of 4. Now we have to place 2 more street punks, unfortunately, so we'll have to make the roll, and we'll see where they're going to be deployed to. Okay, 2 of them are going in block 5, and that is going to create another gang. So 2 more punks are deployed to Bad Hood 5, and that's going to create a gang. We'll draw another gang card, and this time it is the Notorious Rack. This gang has the attention of the local politicians. While this gang is present, no rewards are given for handling emergencies anywhere, including unknown circumstances. Remove the card by arresting all of the street punks in this bad hood and shuffle it back into the gang deck. All right, so we will no longer gain rewards for handling emergencies until that card is removed. So next up is Sergeant Costello, and we'll take care of his move action. I think we're going to have to try to take care of this gang as much as we can. So he's going to move 2 spaces to that area. He'll request support from the support vehicle, and that's going to move 1, 2, and 3 to help support him. All right, that is going to give Sergeant Costello 2 dice for his own ability in making arrests and 1 extra for the support vehicle. Now this has a strength of 4 here, so we're going to be looking for 4s in order to make arrests. Now he would request support from Lieutenant Sears, but she doesn't have any cards that she can play other than this air support card. And that would allow her to play this card after any player's die roll, even your own, to re-roll up to 3 dice, your choice. So if we need that, we will play that. So in the meantime, Officer Costello will attempt to arrest the street punks, and he'll be rolling 3 dice, and we're looking for 4s. All right, and here's the roll. And he did pretty well. He's got a total of 3 successes. That's going to allow him to arrest 3 punks. We can put those back into the supply. And in addition, he's going to gain a donut as a reward for arresting 3 or more punks. So Sergeant Costello gets a donut. That's great. Now our number of punks in the supply is now at 7, which is good. All right, next up, we'll place the donut on Sergeant Costello's card. Next up, we have to draw a police card. And he gets officer assistance. All right, we'll add that to his tableau of cards. Now, incidentally, this notorious rack, normally we would get a reward after we arrest street punks, but this card is only for emergencies. So when we solve emergencies, we wouldn't get a reward, but it doesn't apply to other actions, in this case, arresting street punks. All right, so now we are going to draw an event card and see what happens. If it is a green card, that's going to be bad for us. The card is an internal memorandum, problems in the hood. Current player chooses roll 3 dice and place 3 street punks in the corresponding bad hoods, or take 1 street punk from the stockpile, not the board, and put it back in the box. Take it out of play for the rest of the game. Well, that is a tough decision. When we lower the number of punks in the game, it's a better chance for us to be able to need to place a punk and not be able to, and then the crime track would go up. So that's a tough decision. I think we're going to do it though. I'm going to permanently remove 1 punk from the game rather than placing 3 more on the board. We've got to get started on our investigations pretty soon. So we are going to permanently remove a punk from the game, moving us down to 13 punks. And that is going to bring Sergeant Costello's turn to a close. We'll move on to our first player for a new round, Lieutenant Sears. And that's going to move the calendar marker down to day 3. All right, we're going to need to try to handle, I think, these traffic accidents that we've got out on the board. Lieutenant Sears is on Stickle Avenue down here in the north or southwest part of town, so it's going to take her a little bit to get to one of those, but I think what we'll do, I have a fast response card, so she's going to move first. And she'll move 1, 2, and 3 to 3rd Street. There, she's going to play this fast response card, play this card during your movement to move 2 extra streets, regardless of car type. So she'll move 2 extra, 1, 2, and that will put her on 4th Street where she can attempt to handle this traffic accident. That's good. She's going to request support from the support vehicle, so that vehicle will move 1, 2, and 3 to help her out. Okay, for this emergency, she has a strength of 2, so she'll get 2 dice, 1 for the support vehicle, and she's going to request assistance from Sergeant Costello, and he's going to give her the card, the stakeout card that he'll use for the icon, giving her an extra die for the emergency. Now, even if we solve this, we're not going to gain any reward because of that notorious wreck gang out on the board. But we need to try to get rid of this urgent emergency before another one comes on. So we'll make the roll and see what we get. We need a 4 or greater on one of these dice. And we've done it. She's got a 6. That is going to solve the emergency, but we don't get any rewards. But at least that urgent marker is removed. That's great. Okay, step 3, she's going to gain a police card. She gets the surveillance card. All right. And now that stakeout card is going to be discarded from before. And then now we're going to draw our next event card and see what it is. This time we've got another internal memorandum, problems in the hood. The current player chooses roll 3 dice and place 3 street punks in the corresponding bad hoods, or take 1 street punk from the stockpile, not the board, and put it back into the box. Well, we don't want to do that. I guess we're going to have to deploy 3 street punks and just let it happen as it will. So we'll make the roll and see what hoods these punks will be going in. And they'll be placing them in bad hoods 3, 5, and 6. So we've got a punk in bad hood 3. Another one in bad hood 5, reinforcing the notorious rack gang. And another one in bad hood 6 with the East Siders. Now the East Siders have that special ability. When an event card causes 1 or more street punks to be added to this gang's bad hood, we have to add an extra one. So another street punk is going to come back out. Not good. All right, that is going to complete the turn. And now it is Sergeant Costello's turn, and I think he's going to stay where he is and attempt to deal with this notorious rack gang. So he will stay there and attempt an arrest. He will request support from the support vehicle, which will move 1, 2, and 3. All right, he's going to attempt that action. It's going to give him 2 for his arrest attempt, 1 for the support vehicle, and that's all we got. So we'll be rolling 3 dice, and we're looking for 2s to be successful. Okay, here is the roll. And we've got 2 successes, so we've done it. We've arrested both of those punks. That means that the notorious rack gang is removed. That'll be shuffled back into the street gangs deck. And we've at least taken care of one of the gangs. That's a good thing. Now he's going to draw a police card, and he gets Donut Run. Must be at the donut shop. If there is no emergency here, you may spend your turn to take 2 donuts from the supply and give them to any other players. That's interesting. And now he has to draw an emergency card, and this one is a yellow emergency. That's the second yellow emergency. So we'll be placing a urgent marker on the existing one. That's the thief at the Snyder's liquor store. All right, this one is going to be at the Pastoros grocery. So we place this shoplifter card at the Pastoros grocery, and that has an unknown circumstance, so we're going to have to place a random unknown circumstance token on that card. All right, and in addition, that other yellow emergency now becomes urgent. So the thief at the Snyder's Liquors now becomes urgent. All right, our first player, Lieutenant Sears, is up next. That's going to move the calendar track down to day 4. Lieutenant Sears will begin with her movement, and since she's right there, I guess we're going to have her respond to the urgent situation at Snyder's Liquor Store. We'll have her move there. That's the enter space for that building. And she's going to request support from the support vehicle. That's going to move 1, 2, 3. And she has an extra ability called Coordinator. On your turn, you may move 1 other player's car or the support vehicle 1 street space. That's what she's going to do. So that will move it in front of Snyder's Liquors, and we can attempt to solve that emergency. All right, Lieutenant Sears is going to gain 2 dice for her normal emergency ability and 1 extra for the support vehicle. Now this has a difficulty level of 4, and there is an unknown circumstance, so as soon as we are finished allocating resources, we have to flip that over and see what happens. It could be good, it could be bad. So let's see what we've got for extra cards here. Well, she's going to request support from another officer, so he's going to play his officer assistance card for the emergency value, giving her an extra die for this roll. And that's going to help out a little bit. I think what Lieutenant Sears is going to do is play her own police card, Surveillance. Play this card to look at the top 2 cards of the event deck. Return 1 to the bottom and 1 to the top of the deck. So let's see what the next 2 cards look like. And those are a car theft and an aggressive drunk. Well, I think what we're going to do, there are no blue cards out on the board yet, so we'll have the blue emergency, the aggressive drunk, will be placed on top, and we'll put this car theft incident report at the bottom. All right, now she's going to make her attempt at solving this emergency, and let's see what this unknown circumstance is all about. This one is with a hostage. Oh boy. And that says any police cards played by other players via their symbols to assist the active player to handle this emergency shall have no effect. They do not add a number of dice to the dice rolled. So in this case, the card that we're playing here is going to be wasted, and we're only going to get 3 dice for this emergency attempt. We need a value of 4 or greater on one of these. Here's the roll. And we've done it. We've got a 5. It's enough to solve the emergency. Now that gang that was preventing us from receiving rewards has been dealt with. So we can pick our reward now. We can get a donut, or we don't have to draw an event card this turn. I believe that's what that symbol is. Yep, we do not have to draw an event. So I think that's what we're going to do. She's already got 2 donuts. So this is resolved. The emergent marker is no longer active, which is always a good thing. These police cards have been played. They will go to the discard pile, and we will not draw an event this turn. I think that will help us a little bit. So this is now step 3. She gets to draw a police card, and she gets the stakeout. We'll add that to her total, and we don't have to draw an event card, which is great. We'll move on to Sergeant Costello. Well, we know that the next event up is going to be a blue event, which is not going to set off an urgent marker, which is great. So I think what we'll do is I'll have Sergeant Costello move to Calhoun Avenue, and he's going to be able to attempt to deal with that traffic accident. I think we'll do that. All right, we have to try to handle this traffic accident. It has a difficulty of 4. Sergeant Costello has an emergency level of 1. He'll get 1 die. Now we also get 1 extra die for every adjacent vehicle to that area. So we would gain 2 dice, 1 for the support vehicle and 1 for Lieutenant Sears. We're up to 3 now. And I think he's going to ask for assistance. And we'll have Lieutenant Sears play the police card, giving him an extra 1 for emergency. So we'll be rolling a total of 4 dice, and we need to get at least a 4. And here's the roll. And he's done it. He's got a 6. That will solve that emergency, which is great. Now our reward is either a donut or we can take an extra police card. And I think he'll take the donut. So we'll give him his second donut now. And that traffic accident is dealt with. Now he's going to draw a police card. He gets request assistance. That's step 3 of the turn. And finally, we have to draw an event card, and we know that's going to be that blue card. And that is going to be an aggressive drunk at Duffy's bar. He has a difficulty of 5. It says here, if an attempt to handle this fails, the active player is sent to the hospital. Okay, so not good. We'll place that at Duffy's bar. All right, so we have an aggressive drunk at Duffy's bar. All right. And that's going to bring Officer Costello's turn to a close, and we'll move on to our first player. And with our first player activating, the calendar marker goes down, and we're at day 5. So currently on the board, we have a yellow and a blue emergency on the board. We still have that Eastsiders gang in block 6. We have to start our investigations pretty soon. So I think what we'll do is I'll try to move Lieutenant Sears towards handling these Eastsiders, but I think what we'll do is try an investigation. And I'll have her move to the interview witness deck, and that's at the Pearson apartment. So we'll have her move 1, 2, and 3. The entrance to the Pearson apartments is off of Vassal. And she'll also request help from the support vehicle, 1, 2, and 3. All right, she has the ability of 1 in investigations, and she gets 1 for the support vehicle, so that would allow her 2 draws from that deck. And I think what will do is she'll request assistance, and Officer Costello will play the card Donut Run for its investigation ability, giving her another draw. So she's got 3 draws basically from the interview witness deck. And I think we'll try that. So she's going to get 3 draws. Here's the first one. Nobody home. Second one, a witness statement. And the third, nobody home. Okay, so what happens is the witness statement that we've collected, we can place that on the murder board, and that's one of the 2 pieces of witness statement information that we need. One of the cards has to be discarded, so we'll discard that nobody home card. The other card has to be placed at the bottom of the deck, and then the deck has to be shuffled. And the problem with that is we don't want to shuffle those. If we're placing cards that we know are not good for us on the bottom of the deck, shuffling doesn't help us. It makes it worse. Sergeant Costello has that ability thorough, and when drawing investigation cards, he can choose to not reshuffle the deck. So that's real important, but that's only for him. So we're going to shuffle this witness interview deck, and then we have a variant where if we draw a witness statement from the deck, we're going to roll a die and place that interview witness deck at a random apartment on the map. And that just gives a little bit of a thematic feel to it, in the effect that you might not have all of the interview witnesses in the same apartment building. So we'll roll for an apartment building. If we get the same result, there's no problem if it's a 5, but that deck would just stay where it is. But here's the roll, and that's going to be in block 2. So we'll place that interview witness deck now in block 2, the apartment building in block 2, which is the Furwood Apartments. So we'll relocate our interview witness deck to the Furwood Apartments. All right, now we have to place that witness statement on the murder board. So we'll place our witness statement card on slot 1 of witness statements. Got our first piece of evidence. All right, we'll move on to step 3, where Lieutenant Sears can draw a police card. She gets the surveillance card. All right, we'll add that to her total. Now we have to draw an event card. Let's see what this is. This time we've got a smuggler's card, and that is a blue card. We already have a blue card. That's the aggressive drunk at Duffy's bar. All right, this is going to be placed at a random warehouse. So we need to roll a die and figure out where the warehouse is. Okay, here is the roll. That's going to be in block 4. Okay. All right, so we've got smuggler operations at the board game warehouse. All right. And now we have to place that urgent marker at Duffy's bar. Not good. So the existing blue emergency gets an urgent marker. And that's going to bring Detective Sears' turn to a close. We'll move on to Sergeant Costello. He's on Calhoun Avenue right now. All right, Officer Costello is up next, and I think what he's going to do is, we already have an urgent marker out there, but I think we're going to try to shave this a little bit, and we'll try to take care of the shoplifter at the grocery store. That would only limit us to failing that urgent emergency if another blue card was to come out, which I think would be unlikely. So we'll move Sergeant Costello 2 spaces to in front of the Pastoris grocery store. He'll request support from the support vehicle, and now we can see if we can play any cards at all. And I think he's going to play this card, Request Assistance, that says play this card to move any number of police cars within 1 street to your location. So he's going to move Lieutenant Sears there as well. He'll give us a little help. So we've played that card. All right, so I think that's the amount of resources we're going to commit to this. So as it stands now, Sergeant Costello gets 1 die, and he's going to get a die each for each car that is in front of that location. So we've got 3 dice. We're looking for a difficulty of 3. This has an unknown circumstance. Let's find out what that is. And this is a wielding a big knife, difficulty +1. The difficulty now has gone up to 4. So we need to get a 4 to solve this. All right, 3 dice. We can't play any more cards at this time. So we're looking for 4 or greater. And we've done it. We've got a 6. So we managed to solve that, which is great. All right, now our reward is a donut, or we don't have to draw an event. And I'm going to choose the don't draw the event. So this card is dealt with. That's our reward. We'll go on to step 3, and Sergeant Costello will draw his police card, and he has a request assistance card. We'll add that to his total, and that's going to bring the turn to a close. Lieutenant Sears is up next, and that's our first player, so we have to move the calendar marker. We're at turn 6 now. And I think it's time to handle that aggressive drunk at Duffy's bar. So I think what we'll do is we'll have Lieutenant Sears move to Duffy's bar, and she's going to use the support vehicle with her. So we'll move Lieutenant Sears 1 and 2 to Duffy's bar. That's the entrance to that location. She'll have the support vehicle come with her. And now this is a difficulty 5. This is going to be a little tough, and if we fail this, we're going to be sent to the hospital. So let's see if we can get some assistance from other officers here, and I think she's going to request assistance from Sergeant Costello, and he's going to end up playing request assistance card for its emergency value. So we're going to have a total now of her 2 dice, 1 for the support vehicle and 1 for the emergency symbol. That'll give us 4 dice, and we're looking for a 5 or greater to solve this. All right, so we've got an aggressive drunk at Duffy's bar. We have 4 dice, and we're looking for at least a 5 or a 6. And we've done it barely, but we did it. She's got the 5, and that's sufficient to solve that aggressive drunk. Our reward would be a police card, and we can look at the event deck. All right, let's get our police card. She gets a stakeout card. So we'll add that to her total. It gives her the ability to look at the top of the event deck, and then we can either place that on top or on bottom. Next one is a escaped convict, and that is a red card. Now that would not set off the emergency, so I think we will just keep that. We'll keep it. We'll leave it on top. All right. So we'll remove the aggressive drunk from Duffy's Bar, and the urgent marker. And now she is going to draw her normal police card for part 3 of her turn, and she gets the officer assistance card. That's her 5th card. This card is discarded from before. Now we have to draw our event card, and we know what that is now. That is going to be an escaped convict. It's going to be placed at a random apartment building. So let's make a roll for a random apartment building. It's going to be the apartment in block 6. All right. So that's going to be placed at the Vilfred Apartments in block 6. Now this says here, if an attempt to handle this fails, the active player is going to be sent to the hospital. So that's a dangerous situation there. All right, Sergeant Costello is up next. Now we don't have any urgent markers on the board. We have a red emergency active, and that's it. And a blue, I'm sorry, and a red and a blue. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to get Sergeant Costello closer towards that escaped convict at the Vilfred Apartments, and with our problem that we've got down here in Stickle Avenue with the gangs there. So he's going to move 1, 2, and 3 to 1st Street, and we're going to attempt to, I think, search for the murder weapon at the Acme warehouse. All right. Now he can request assistance, but I don't think that car is going to be able to reach his location, but we'll move it at least closer or more centrally located. So we'll move that car 1, 2, and 3 to Vassal Avenue. All right, Sergeant Costello has a value of 1 in investigation, so that's going to give him 1 draw. He's also going to play, I think, 1 donut, which is going to give him an extra draw for that. And then he's going to request support from Lieutenant Sears, and she is going to play the air support card for the 2 magnifying glasses, giving him 2 extra draws. So he has a total of 4 draws here. And let's see if we can find that murder weapon. Okay, here is the first draw. Nothing. Second draw. Nothing. Third draw. Nothing. Fourth draw. We've got it. We've got the murder weapon, and it's a knife. All right, so what's going to happen is we'll place the murder weapon on the murder board. One of the cards is discarded, and the rest are placed at the bottom of the deck. Now, we only need to get 1 murder weapon, so this deck can actually be removed from play because we have the murder weapon. There's only 1 of those. So let's place that on the murder board. This deck is going to be now removed from play. So we've managed to locate the murder weapon. We'll place that on our murder board. And we're starting to fill that up a little bit at least. That's good. All right, Sergeant Costello is going to draw a police card. He gets officer assistance. And now we have to draw our police card. Now, Sergeant Costello has the ability intuition. Before you draw an event, you can look at it and place it on the top or the bottom. So let's take a look at this one and see what he's got. It's a yellow. It's a pickpocket. That would happen at Ole's Donut Shop. It's on the east side of town. This card would not set off an emergency, so we're going to allow the card to be played, and we'll place that at Ole's Donut Shop. So we'll place the card at Ole's Donut Shop. Now that has a difficulty of 3, and it has an unknown circumstance, so we'll have to place an unknown circumstance token on the card. It also instructs us to place 1 street punk and a random bad hood, so let's make the roll for that. Okay, it's going to go in block 4. So a street punk is placed in block 4, and that's the 3rd one there. We're getting close to getting a gang formed there. Not good. And that's going to complete the turn for Sergeant Costello. We'll move on to our first player, and that's going to move our calendar marker. Our calendar marker moves to turn 7. All right. We're a third of the way through the game. So far, we've managed to keep the crime rate in the city at its starting location, which is great. There's 3 punks that are in the supply currently. And we've managed to get a witness statement and the murder weapon located on our murder board. And we've got an active gang here on Stickle Avenue. It's the East Siders. We're going to have to deal with them pretty soon. Currently on the board, there are a red, yellow, and blue emergency. But there is no urgent marker on the board yet, so that's good. And I think we're going to end the video here. And we will regroup for our next turn in the second video. So thank you so much for joining me at the Solo Gamers Club. I hope you're enjoying this playthrough of this very fine game, Police Precinct 2nd Edition. I checked online a few days ago and the game is still available for purchase from Common Man Games. I believe they're selling it now through a third party, but the game can be acquired from them along with the expansions, and I believe the game's retail price is $70 US. So thank you so much for joining me at the Solo Gamers Club, and I hope to see you again next time for the second episode of Police Precinct. In the meantime, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club signing off and wishing everyone a pleasant day.